Bio was an orphan living a free-spirited life until that day when Bio was captured and taken to a dark place. His body had no strength to stand up, and every day he had to eat moss to fill his hungry stomach. Although its taste was very bad, he could only try to swallow it down through the steps in the cramped cell, estimated to be about 9 square meters. Suddenly, the iron door opened, and they brought in more food, and there were over 5 kinds of Bio, very smart, immediately guessing that there seemed to be many people, at least 5, with that number surely not just himself confined here. Bio's stomach had also begun to protest, so he still had to eat the meal first. Although it was only leftover rice soup, it was much better than moss. Time passed in the damp, musty, and dark room. Bio had been imprisoned for over 4 months. He diligently practiced hitting the ground in various ways, had to know in space like this, ordinary people would go crazy and die. Bio gradually adapted to the darkness, his eyes could see things moving in the dungeon, poisonous rats everywhere. Suddenly, his hand was bitten by a white snake with a terrifying red eye. It bit his hand directly, and his body suddenly felt hot like fire. It was a venomous snake. Bio groaned in pain, then passed out, not knowing when or the next day when he woke up, he didn't have much strength left. He saw food and rushed to it. Somehow, he couldn't die here. His body gradually recovered, and his eyesight improved. Perhaps it was due to the changes in the detoxification process. Bio came up with a crazy idea: he would use the venomous snake to enhance his strength. This time, though still very painful, it was not as bad as the first time. It seems that his body had developed some resistance to the venom. After a while, the dungeon suddenly shook violently. The iron doors were opened, and Bio stepped out. In front of him was the putrid smell of dead bodies. It seemed that others could not bear this place. Bio advanced forward, and behind the stone door were 2 elderly people. They were the only ones who survived this area, and it seemed they couldn't see him clearly. Their cell was not entirely dark. All 3 moved forward because there might be more survivors here, as Bio predicted. After a while, they formed a group, observing that there were not many deaths in this cell. Like him, no one died of starvation, they all committed suicide. Their food was more abundant than his. Going deeper into the cave, they found a large door opened with the light of a torch, blinding everyone. They were used to the darkness of this place. A large hall illuminated by torches appeared, but when they stepped inside, there seemed to be nothing, just a temporary shelter. A beautiful girl named Liming said she would take care of him, not because he was handsome, but because his eyes were beautiful, red like the white snake's. Perhaps its venom had caused his eyes to mutate. Fortunately, his eye color was hard to detect when standing next to a torch. It had only been a short time since the children saw each other. 4 groups had been formed, each with its leader. Only Bio did not join any group. At this moment, light appeared from above, and a basket full of food slowly descended. Everyone immediately rushed forward, but they were stopped by the group leaders. Yelton stepped out to distribute the food equally among everyone, a decision agreed upon by the leaders of the 4 groups. However, Bio objected and approached to take his share. Immediately, a redhead blocked his path, asserting his authority, declaring that no one could take food without his permission. Bio retaliated by hitting him in the eye and knocking him to the ground. "What did you say?" he shouted. Unable to hear the others' attempts to intervene, Bio continued unabated, using even more force, causing fear among them all. Goldia also approached, advising him that no one would touch his food at this time. Pio only stopped when Bio became the leader of the place. Although no one spoke of it, he realized that this place was a test to select effective children. The selection process would continue until the ones behind achieved their goal. Eventually, the children here would become each other's enemies to survive. After the food distribution, Yelton's group became the strongest, as she ate the least. This loyalty earned her from the other children. During this time, Bio continued to live in the dark room not only to monitor the other children, but also to increase his tolerance to poison. He needed to become as strong as possible for the survival battle that day. Now, the food was here, but the amount was significantly reduced. Everyone was panicked, the purge had truly begun. The next day, a boy from Yun's group leadership died. The cause was because he was the weakest. Next, the weakest of each group were all killed. Countless people died. They began to suspect each other and became wild like hungry demons. At this point, there was no food left. Bio had to scavenge to survive. He noticed a group of people approaching his room. There were at least 4 of them, all from the redheads group, whom he had antagonized before. They wanted to find him for revenge, but they basically didn't know the true terror of this place. In the dark cell where only Bio survived, one immediately fell foaming at the mouth from being bitten by a poisonous snake while they were still in chaos. Pyo emerged from the darkness and seized one of them, taking him away without hesitation. Seeing this, the redheads gang member went berserk and attacked Bio, but Bio, like the Grim Reaper of Darkness, appeared behind him. The gang member was so scared he wet his pants, begging for mercy. He even wanted to cooperate with Bio to confront the group, but this useless one could do nothing. There would be a day when he would bite back, just like today. Bio's lightning-fast speed punched him once, then restrained him, continuously killing him. Finally, the redheads group was also put on the chopping block. Everyone realized that Bio was the one behind it, still curious about the true strength of this group. How strong they were to directly kill 4 people. This made them tremble in fear, not daring to take any risks with him. At this moment, someone informed the group of the white-haired guy that their food stash was being attacked by 2 others. Although they only had a potato in hand, they didn't know that their comrades had become hungry demons, rushing to attack before he could warn them that it was a trap. Many people rushed out to ambush them. It was Eigen's group. They wanted to reduce their food intake so their group could survive. The brutal battle began. To survive in this situation, they had no choice but to become murderers. Bio observed from above, realizing that those behind were trying to familiarize them with killing and forcing them to become assassins. Yelton's group didn't win, but he laughed jovially about the killings earlier. Their instinct was gradually turning into bloodthirsty demons. White-haired little sister was also worried about that. The next day, now it's time for dinner, but Bio quickly noticed something unusual. Figures cloaked in mystery rushed down here to attack them. They all couldn't resist and could only lie still and endure. Although he wanted to act, he wouldn't be a match for them. The leader of these figures also appeared, declaring himself as the swordmaster. He said, "Your lives will no longer belong to you. I will decide that." One guy resisted, but in an instant, he was killed by the masked one. This frightened everyone. In the following days, hellish training began. They were trained to become assassins. If they couldn't bear this process, they would only die in vain before leaving this place to survive. However, regardless, one must endure. IELTS Gold was the most prominent figure, with intellectual capacity, judgment, courage, and execution skills all at the top. Bio didn't show much. He was hiding his skills, trying not to stand out. They began to assign them to study heart doctrine, requiring them to grasp it within the time of victory in battle. Bio quickly grasped the first steps of cultivation. If mastered, it would lead to a rebirth with a humble body, accumulating internal strength and sensing energy. They didn't even understand the basics of heart doctrine practically. This couldn't be broken by the human's power, this decision's speed, in other words, the pace of thought, carried significant meaning. Later, he chose a peaceful way of living, neither too outstanding nor too weak to avoid the gaze of the group leaders. That day, during their training, the sparring partner began wild, learning 3 tricks, like cat's claw, and dared to dance in front of him. He wanted to kill, emitting countless dark energies, all nullified. The promised one still went mad, rushing to kill him. Bio had to be a little serious this time, directly kicking him away while the elder watched. The rapid maturity of these people was truly astonishing. Within 5 years, they might complete their goal. Their main goal was to assassinate the so-called genius, First Saint Quartet. To deal with someone like that. Even if we tried, we wouldn't be enough, just one mistake, and all the blood spirit core could disappear. That's why the head of the group brought these kids in for training. If they failed, their blood spirit core would not be detected. The Battle of Bio also came to a conclusion. The other guy was directly disabled by him with just one hand. Only hearing his agonizing screams, playing dumb was the only option. Suddenly, the head of the group appeared, sword drawn in front of him. The speed of the sword was so fast that it couldn't be seen with the naked eye. This shocked Bio sideways. He thought he would be punished for injuring the other guy, but he coldly stated that as an assassin, there should absolutely be no trace left behind. It was like revealing his identity and status to the enemy. Time passed, and after 6 years, the training was starting. Amateur assassins had all been discovered by their people. There were 5 people hiding here. But he couldn't sense them because of the grand technique, a technique to erase traces by feigning death, that Bill, who was standing right under him, used. But he couldn't clearly detect that in the past 6 years, he had become a top-notch assassin. If his actions were truly effective, the network of that guy would no longer exist after 6 years. From 300 children, only 30 survived, becoming the targets of the group leaders who had begun training. Finally, they were given 3 volumes of martial arts techniques. Those among you will have to master this martial art, while the remaining 27 will have to secretly attack and kill the 3 who have mastered the martial art. After this training session, until they leave here, they won't have to undergo any other training. Bio also realized that perhaps the level of that martial arts book could be very high. After all, it was the reason for being assassinated. He was the first one to dare to accept it. This shocked everyone. Very quickly, 2 of the martial arts students were assassinated. They were randomly selected and became targets for everyone's assassination. Now, only Bio remained. He hadn't appeared for a long time. At this moment, he was infiltrating the headquarters of the leaders. His entire body was surrounded by a black aura, which was the great demon technique combined with the technique of dividing and controlling breath through the manipulation of mental faculties. It would enable his body to act while reducing his presence to the extreme. He passed by the 2 guards. After searching for a while, Bio found the yellow scroll, learning that their purpose was to assassinate Gun within the 7-year deadline. With a reward of 500,000 gold coins and the condition of leaving no traces related to the blood spirit core. He was also curious about who they were and why they had to do this over the years. Just then, someone arrived, recognizing that the place had been infiltrated. Bio left in time. Through speculation, they were sure that Pyo was the one capable of this. If they let Bio continue like this, there would surely be a problem. But if they punished him without evidence that he had infiltrated here, the children would surely strongly object. They decided to use the Inferno method. It was time to let them know who their true master was. The old man blew a whistle, and immediately everyone clutched their heads in pain. Their bodies feeling as if insects were devouring them alive. Only Bio felt a slight pain in his ears. He also didn't understand the reason for this. He needed to be cautious and think carefully. Their martial arts and their food are all the same, the only difference being the snake venom in his body. If the restrictions are related to poison, then it could explain why only he was affected. It seems normal in this situation because he has been bitten by snakes for a long time, so he has the ability to tolerate toxins. But how to trigger the poison in all 27 bodies simultaneously, not just activate the poison with sound? If what's in their bodies is not poison, but rather a deep toxin, then what? Perhaps they stole toxic necklaces with food and water, then fed them and stimulated the poison with that sound. The guards also approached. Bio immediately pretended to be in great pain. The old leader directly drew his sword and stabbed towards him for interrogation. What have you seen in our room? During this time, you have concealed your achievements very well. While he was about to kill him, Oldney stopped him because Bio was too outstanding. They needed him for this mission. Since we have the Inferno method, we can control it anytime. He also saw that it was the toxic necklace that made it impossible for him to be unruly. Then they made them drink the antidote. They woke up and didn't understand what was happening. The old leader continued, telling them all that this punishment was all because of Bio. If he hadn't infiltrated our residence, this wouldn't have happened. If we see anyone acting on their own in the future, you will all suffer the same agony as today. Remember that on that evening, Yelton's people came to ask him about their restrictions. She initially noticed that Pio wasn't with them, but after the restrictions were imposed, he appeared there, undoubtedly unaffected or minimally affected. Li Min also realized that the one who transferred internal energy to alleviate her pain was him, Bio. They couldn't deny this, causing them to panic and want to know what it was. But this guy stated that he would benefit if he spoke out. They weren't each other's allies, at least not until yesterday when this guy still had integrity. They all had been poisoned by them, normally reacting to sound waves and spreading toxins. The toxins circulated in the bloodstream and attacked internal organs. I, being naturally strong against toxins, was not affected. I advised everyone to find a way to counteract their own poisoning. While the other two left, Min stayed behind, revealing his name as Lee Seo Min, wanting him to remember it clearly. This surprised him as he never expected to reveal his identity like this. Finally, Yeol arrived to lead everyone out. They were all delighted because they could finally return to the surface. Some managed to neutralize the poison, thanks to Min. She knew a lot about his group's poison, the last group to leave here suddenly. Pyo recognized the danger of the light on the surface, which could blind them instantly. They quickly had to cover their eyes to alleviate the intense pain caused by living underground for 5 years, making them unable to adapt to the brightness. This was also the final test before carrying out the assassination mission. In front of them is the Yueyang Blood Spirit Legion. Their leader ordered them all onto horse-drawn carriages. First, they are being transferred to the Tanfeng outpost to acclimate to the outside world. Bio immediately engraves deeply the suffering voice of their leader, endured over the past 7 years. He knows there will be a day of reckoning. They are very interested in the beautiful scenery on the surface. Anyway, for the past 7 years, where they lived was no different from a prison. There are a few still crying at the sight of a new flower, but they are also given weapons to prepare for battle. The Blood Spirit Legion's intentions are clear: by completing this task, they will take a big leap forward. It may even be comparable to the strongest assassin organization, 100 Demon Sect. Meanwhile, the new assassins are eager to prove themselves after 7 years of hard training. Finally, the mission begins with finding the leader. He realizes that these new recruits are strong, possibly comparable to members of the sect. Suddenly, they stop. The target is the mountain ahead, identical to where they used to live. The assassination target is Gusang. At the same time, the head of the Nami sect, Siyu Mia, has begun to act. She is the one who owns the contract for the 500,000 gold bounty. However, the Tauntaun sect has also made a decision as she desires, so this contract has been cancelled. Meanwhile, Bio and the new recruits are preparing to act without knowing this news. He feels an unprecedented sense of unease. Suddenly, a spear rushes directly towards his team. Clearly, they have been hiding very well underground. How could this happen? Ayasan, a disciple of the Tauntaun sect, has come here to hunt them down. The whole team immediately has to run from underground. The team captain suddenly gets attacked, but manages to dodge in time. It turns out to be Li Min. She is heavily injured, covered in blood, and eventually collapses. Li Min tells him that most of the others sacrificed themselves, scattering to survive the pursuit. She understands that they can only save themselves at this moment. Bio cannot carry her with numerous wounds before she dies. Li Min calls out her name one last time, her final wish. Her death truly awakens the monster within him. They will all pay for this now. The Blood Spirit Legion's leader holds the cancellation notice from the contract. Now, realizing the impending danger, countless fake martial artists rush in and start killing them. The Blood Spirit Legion's leader goes mad. It's all his fault for not investigating the true identity of the contractor. A lightning-fast sword strikes, and countless fake martial artists are counted off. A tremendous force rushes in, and despite his best efforts to resist, his body cannot endure it. The one who strikes is Tam Thiat, offering a tribute to the Nami sect. Now, you realize that the one who sent the contract before was the head of the Nami sect. He regrets not exceeding the limits to investigate their identities. But now, it's too late. Both go mad and rush into a 100-round battle. Even Muta has to marvel. It's just the head of the assassins, yet he's so formidable. It's fortunate that the battle is face-to-face in broad daylight. If it were a night ambush, we might not stand a chance against him. We must definitely destroy them to prevent any aftermath. Muta strikes with full force, sending the Blood Spirit Legion leader flying, but it's still not enough to defeat him. He crazily continues to fight, but it's not just Muta here. There are also many fake martial artists, among whom one sneakily attacks the Blood Spirit Legion leader. But at that moment, the old woman from the Nami sect intervenes, dealing a fatal blow to the Blood Spirit Legion leader, while the Nami sect master also arrives. The Blood Spirit Legion leader angrily shouts, questioning why the Nami sect would do this to the Blood Spirit Legion. "We trusted you," he says, "even the beasts trusted you. You are no better than traitors, you dogs." With that, he is killed by the old woman, who then orders her disciples to execute punishment. No one can survive here. Ion Saolon also joins the mission this time. She's famously beautiful, the most talented among the Nami sect disciples. Even the first sword is no match for her. As for one of the new guests, he's been caught. At first, he would rather die than confess, but under the old woman's cruelty, he eventually yields. There were 28 guests sent to Tauntaun Mountain, but under the old woman's brutality, he couldn't bear it and ultimately suffered a painful death. In total, they have eliminated 24 guests, leaving 4 escapees. Next, Colin calls her to prepare for the wedding in the Tauntaun sect. Of course, she only likes bears, but she still has to follow her master's arrangement. It's so boring. Meanwhile, Bio is infiltrating the Tauntaun sect. He must kill the one who caused all this tragedy. The next day, he captures one of the Tauntaun sect disciples to interrogate for information about Gun Sang. He is actually the senior disciple of the Tauntaun sect, having learned most of the sect's techniques since childhood and entered the scene as a master. It is said that the previous masters of the Tauntaun sect were also very concerned and taught him while he was still begging for mercy. Upon returning, Bio's face quickly changed to exactly resemble his. Normal people wouldn't be able to tell who's real and who's fake. So he took on the identity of that disciple to infiltrate the Tauntaun sect. Bio found Yu-Gi-Oh's residence inside the mansion of the Tauntaun sect leader, and the elders were discussing this matter. In the 3 major battles of the past, Tien Sun Bo Dang Hoa Sun had achieved great fame, while the Tauntaun and Nami sects failed to do so, only receiving the false title of the 5 great sects. In reality, their power couldn't compare to those sections. If we proceed according to the plan, within 10 years, we will definitely catch up to them. Gold Sang is the foremost genius of the sect, diligently cultivating day and night. He is the one designated to marry the disciple of the Nami sect. Behind this, Mia, the head of the Nami sect, is making efforts to catch up with the Tauntaun sect. If Gold Sang marries the disciple of our sect, it might disadvantage us in this matter. That night, Pyo infiltrated Gold Sang's residence, finding him practicing cultivation while embracing a beautiful woman. I don't know what kind of cultivation he's doing while holding on to a beautiful woman. Bio could sense that he's strong, but he's still human, so Bio can deal with him. He's pulling down the rope to kill him, but this guy suddenly wakes up, gently using his hand to free himself from the rope. He's still in shock, asking who Bio is. Bio directly pulls out his dagger to attack him, but he's blocked by him with just a finger. The next strike knocks Bio away with just a finger. His aura is so strong, like a giant sword slashing at him. Just defending against it is enough to drain Bio's energy. How could he do that with just a finger? In this situation, Bio must run away immediately. A knife strike is blocked by his 2 fingers. Who are you? Did your sect send you here? Why does his face become so ferocious when he doesn't even know what this guy is saying? Since childhood, learning martial arts has been too easy for him, to the point where he no longer finds joy in it and starts to take an interest in women. But that girl was a mistake, she committed suicide after being humiliated. He was punished with a year of solitary meditation because of this. He misunderstands Bio as the father of the girl who died, sent to kill him. When everyone displays tremendous strength, he arms himself with hundreds and thousands of knives surrounding him, controlling them with his mind. The two immediately clash, but Bio's defense is formidable, giving him a chance to counterattack. After a while, the difference in their strengths is too great. Bio is pushed to his limits, only able to continuously attack his opponent's block. At this point, he has to unleash his ultimate move, his sword technique, like a giant wave crashing towards him. Bio immediately flees behind his woman, but his opponent's sword is truly magical, able to bypass that girl and attack him, leaving him shocked. This guy unexpectedly blocked his inferior second broken sword with his own sword. Bio uses mental techniques to create countless illusions to evade his attacks. Suddenly, appearing behind him, a sword thrust from Bio pierces through his body. This guy never expected to be assassinated by an unknown assassin, also due to his arrogance. The next day, the sound of bells rang, causing the entire Tauntaun mountain to tremble. The corpse of Golf Sang was found in his father's room. The second elder of the Tauntaun sect went crazy, wailing, and the elders decided to kill the girl who was with Golf Sang last night to preserve their reputation, ignoring her pleas for mercy. Golf Sang is not just a hope for the Tauntaun sect. He is everything to the disciple. How could a father turn a blind eye to the destruction of Golf Sang's reputation? This information quickly reached the Nami sect. The old lady, the sect leader, was furious. They had worked so hard to arrange the marriage with the Tauntaun sect, yet Golf Sang was killed by the assassins. Completing this assassination is part of the plan to manipulate the Tauntaun sect that they had been nurturing for 10 years. It will surely succeed. They cannot let the assassin who killed the junior disciple go unpunished. They must eliminate him. The old lady mobilized people to set up the sky and land net to surround and capture the assassin who killed Golf Sang. Every road is guarded, and everyone passing by must declare their identity. Bio successfully disguised himself as an old man, but he was immediately detected because his sickle and clothes were too clean. They immediately fired signal flares to alert everyone, but they were completely no match for him. They had to confess that Tsuyumiya had fully supported the electronic surveillance of the Nami sect to capture him. Clearly, the previous relationship between Nami and Tauntaun was not as close as that. Bio quickly reasoned out that the mastermind behind the contract was Tsuyumiya of the Nami sect. This time, she came to help but actually wanted to kill and eradicate all the disciples of Nami. Anyone who ran to him was killed by him. Colin also arrived, but even with the sky and land net, they couldn't catch him. They think this assassin is much stronger than what they imagined. If they continue like this, they'll only ever see his shadow. They have to predict the path he'll take. That assassin must be exhausted and very tired in this situation. It's highly likely he'll return to where he believes is safest. It could be where he lived for a long time and was trained to become an assassin. They speculate the place where the Blood Lindon nurtures assassins during this time near fatal. They immediately had someone check the guard post there. Indeed, Cologne was beautiful and very intelligent, just as predicted. On his way back, he was hunted by both Tauntaun and Nami. He sustained numerous wounds. He couldn't understand how Nami could predict his movements. Suddenly, he felt too quiet. Suddenly, a powerful sword blew apart part of the forest. The one attacking was the first sword of the Tauntaun sect, the eldest disciple of Tsuyumiya, who had also spotted him. He madly rushed from above, wanting to kill and destroy the elder leader of the Tauntaun sect. Also, realized this, the destructive force of the recent blow clearly aimed to kill. However, he managed to escape in time. They discovered this place only had a deep well that hadn't been checked, likely the underground passage of the Tauntaun and Nami sections. They immediately descended, shocked, because this place resembled the Tauntaun sect's Tranguin courtyard. Unexpectedly, the Blood Spirit Brigade had invested so much in this to fulfill their mission, purchasing Gomj from Tauntaun. Tauntaun was truly enraged, because the Blood Spirit Brigade couldn't have prepared this skillfully. If there wasn't someone backing them, the elder would have started suspecting. Nami also warned that they must capture Pio alive to find out who's behind this. Only Kala knew after entering this place. Constantly feeling pressure, everyone thought they must capture that person, but little did they know this was clearly his stronghold. They thought they were hunters, but in reality, they were just his prey, as indicated by the clues left behind. Finding the Gomj, they had truly angered him. They didn't dare to use 50,000 gold taels to trade for the future of the Tauntaun sect. We won't rest assuredly. When the situation was incredibly tense, the elder also discovered a loophole in the inner wall, filled with countless venomous snakes. There was also a book of forbidden techniques on the table, not a martial art lost in the Blood Great War long ago. If it weren't for chance discovery in an ancient book, we wouldn't have known. Meanwhile, Pio was slowly killing each disciple of the Tauntaun sect. They were like lambs sinking into darkness, unaware of when they would become prey. Once they step into this place, their lives are no longer theirs. They have begun to realize this now. All they need to do is follow what we say. The two of them form a team and move together. At all times, they must know each other's positions. If they reveal even the slightest vulnerability, he will surely strike without mercy. Don't give him any chance at all. As he advanced, he suddenly felt something was wrong. Countless arrows were shot, injuring many, but none seriously. The team captain recognized that this place had countless traps laid out, panicked, and warned everyone to be cautious. At this moment, we are staring at them like wild boars struggling to escape the hunter's arrows. Meanwhile, the elder first sword of Tauntaun is investigating inside the secret chamber. These snakes must have been collected for research. Unexpectedly, this is the base of the Nine Devils Cave. After they left, this group of assassins used it. The disciples of the Nami sect are in chaos and fear. Many of their disciples have been assassinated. The target is the chief disciple of Nami, Bio, who charges out like the god of death from the darkness. Though she managed to react in time, she still got hit in the eye. Colin doesn't know when he appeared behind her, but Kyo can easily escape. Mia is related to all these matters. She's like a demon. Although I'm not very satisfied with my master. On paper, the gentleman whom you killed is the one who will marry me. So, I must seek revenge on her immediately. Releasing overwhelming power, Bio can already recognize it. Facing that momentum is no different from committing suicide. First, we must withdraw. Suddenly, he was struck by a terrifying sword aura, knocking him away. The one who attacked was the elder of the Tauntaun sect. Manhua realized the situation was not good. He was furious, wanting to rush forward and kill. However, he was stopped by the elder, who began questioning him. The elder asked about the reason for assassinating Golf Sang from their sect. Of course, being a hired assassin since the age of 14, he had been imprisoned and nurtured here to become an assassin. He had no other choice. The elder sighed, remarking that if he had been properly educated, he might have become an outstanding talent, but now it was too late. He also brought up the mission from that year, inquiring about the mastermind behind it. Bio didn't directly answer, instead suggesting that even the elder was pondering about the mastermind, which is why he intervened to prevent them from finishing him off. Next, he laughed maniacally, sensing more suffering than hell before dying. That could perhaps redeem some of the harm he had caused to their disciples. The elder slowly dragged him and threw him directly into the secret chamber, where countless poisonous snakes swarmed towards him to bite. Was he going to die here? Bio directly grabbed one snake and bit it back, saying, "You eat me, I eat you." Time passed, and he ate countless snakes until the cave was flooded with them. And his appearance became terrifying. He appeared at the Ton Nokken of the researcher, who was flirting with a girl harassed by some men. With just a wave of his hand, he allowed them to escape. The owner of the place immediately feared and begged for forgiveness, pleading for mercy. With tears in his eyes, he begged for forgiveness for them, promising they would not disturb him anymore. When looking into Bio's eyes, she truly felt terrified. The eyes of a person could be so calm to this extent. Looking into those eyes felt like facing a giant snake. Fortunately, Pio spared them, pleading for 3 days. "Don't disturb him. He needs to rest after 3 days," she said. Pio left the place. The landlady carefully prepared some traveling gear for him, so as not to offend the nobleman. 7 years had passed since he was thrown into the snake pit. During this time, he never forgot the past, not even for a second. Tauntaun sect and Nami sect, coming to the city, could learn more about them. It was raining heavily. He had to take shelter in a temple. At this moment, a crowd rushed here to seek shelter from the rain. A girl who had never seen a handsome man before approached him to flirt. He realized she was also heading to the city. They invited him to join them. Bio could already tell that this group was also martial artists. They didn't seem to get along well, but when it came to attacking, they were very coordinated. He agreed to join their group. Heading to the city, they boarded a boat for water transport, which quickly broke down. A gang of pirates rushed to their boat. While everyone was still panicking, the 2 people with him stepped forward to stop the pirates. The martial arts master swiftly dashed towards the enemy's boat, despite their overwhelming numbers. Even though they intended to overpower him. The sailors on the boat were shocked. They didn't expect this master to be so powerful. Of course, there was a price to pay. Since the prices were discounted, they only charged 500 gold pieces. The venerable monk easily defeated the gang of pirates single-handedly, leaving them all scattered. After dealing with them, he did not forget to recite the Buddhist mantra Nam Moa Di De Fat, his nickname being the Bumper Monk. Meanwhile, the girl accompanying them to the city still seemed infatuated and clung to him, unwilling to let go. This was somewhat annoying. The old man next to him silently evaluated the situation. If it were an ordinary person, they would be very frightened in this situation, but he didn't seem to be just a simple person. A nobody could not have such a gaze. On this side, Bio was also thinking. Their group collected money by using force, and their appearance now was clearly to flaunt their power. and increasing their own fame in the city, which was also a place full of sect disputes between the Nami sect and the Tauntaun sect. They wouldn't ignore the conflict in the city. So, Bio bid farewell to the other three to act alone. He entered a nearby restaurant. His peak appearance caught the attention of even the men, who mistook him for a woman disguised as a man. A man from a nearby table came over to provoke, slamming the table hard, wanting to know if he was a man or a woman. He was betting with his two teammates. If Bio was a woman, he would win 2 silver coins as he had lost before. Such a handsome man, and yet he claimed to be a woman. Truly blind and deaf. He demanded Bio to undress to prove it. Immediately, he rushed up to strip Bio's clothes. With just a flick of his hand, Bio thrust his chopstick straight into one of his eyes, blinding him. Next, he made him swallow his other eye, leaving it only for decoration. There was no point in keeping it. Only the sound of his agonizing screams could be heard as his companions wanted to retaliate for their teammate. All of them were blinded by Bio in an instant. At the same time, the 3 who had arrived at the city beforehand were members of the Black Cloud Battalion. At this moment, their leader also personally came here to deal with the important issue, the ongoing conflict between the Tauntaun sect and the Nami sect, which had been fighting each other for 7 years. It was highly possible that a major battle would break out at Tu Shuyan Crossing the next morning. Pyo sought out the innkeeper and asked who knew the internal situation of Tu Shuyan. He advised Pyo to go to the Fire Dragon sect to inquire. Long ago, soldiers from Tu Shuyan had gathered and established a sect. All sects in Tu Shuyan had been trading with the Fire Dragon sect for a long time. If there were questions, one should go to the workshop to buy a suitable weapon, and then the Fire Dragon sect would provide a satisfactory answer. Pyo went to a weapon forging shop, but the sound of the hammer was strangely clear. The owner stopped the blacksmith until he called Pyo inside, warning him not to touch the hammer until he was called in. Pyo was only allowed to do minor tasks outside. The owner's name was Soju, a descendant of the Jiang clan. Jiang clan was a sect that had been destroyed because they had sided with the demonic sect during the spelling war against the sects in Tu Shuyan. The Jiang clan was considered traitorous, so no workshop would pass on their secrets to anyone associated with the Jiang clan. Everyone feared that the old situation might repeat itself. Pyo mentioned that he wanted to buy a sword. Lately, the shoemaker's business had been thriving since Namai and Tauntaun officially declared war. The number of orders had doubled. The atmosphere in Tu Shuyan had become tense, but here was an opportunity for them to do business. He noticed the guy Soju being bullied and beaten by a group, unable to resist. He intervened directly and handed him a knife. Once you yield, they'll torture you to death. If you endure it, you'll get used to living like a dog. Do you want to live like this forever? Why are these bullies targeting you? They want to die before they provoke. Soju rushed forward and grabbed him by the neck like a beast. He was struggling when he was stabbed straight in the eye with a sword by Soju. The other 2 were shocked, thinking they would be safe after this. Suzu was too tired from being beaten by them for no reason, but remember, I'll hunt down anyone who dares to touch me again. They were scared off again. Suzu couldn't stand it and fell. Bio supported him to a nearby house. Bio then directly stated his purpose in coming to the city: revenge against his enemies, the Tauntaun and Namai sects, 2 of the 5 great sects. Suzu was immediately horrified, intending to fight against all the forces in Tu Shuyan. To thank Pyo for helping him, he took out a hidden bag of weapons from under the bed. It had knives with perfect balance and weight. He had secretly made it, and the reason for the fall of the Jiang clan was also due to Namai and Tauntaun. Soju also wanted revenge. Now he put on a belt with enhanced strength and small daggers. The scene was truly amazing, making Suzu unable to believe his eyes. From now on, its name would be Olympus. Mine is Bio. Every time you hear the name, you might think of the endless ghost. I hope you'll be famous throughout the province. At this moment, Miss Yu is holding a meeting, pressured by the Tauntaun sect, so the situation in Bakhoa district isn't very good. But thanks to everyone's enthusiastic help like this, I might be able to breathe a sigh of relief. These womanizers are starting to talk again. Even though the Tauntaun sect may be strong, they can't dominate the whole city with force. Miss Yu doesn't need to worry. She's using her charm to attract martial artists to support her Namai sect. She sees herself as the most beautiful and powerful. She immediately notices Bio here. Attracted by his handsome appearance, she runs over. It seems like this is the first time I've met you all here, right? This is where Two High gathers. So let me introduce myself. Am Yukon Ha Bok Hoa District. He just coldly calls himself Bio. His attitude annoys the people following her, thinking that being handsome means he can do whatever he wants. They even make him kneel down and apologize. Miss Yu finds his attitude too rigid. She immediately rushes up, intending to hit him, doubting human nature, but can he do it? The sword is easily avoided by him. The angrier he gets, the more he tries to attack. Lightning covers his body. It's the lightning wind sword technique of the Tan Min sect, a swift sword technique, but once again, Pioneer easily avoids it. No matter how hard he tries, he can't touch a hair of his. What a thing to do, to make the girl in front drop all her eggs. Bio uses his holy two-finger technique to let this guy know the taste of the ground. Now, he starts begging on behalf of him, just because he's worried about the little girl, so he steps out in an overzealous manner. Therefore, I think I should stand in for him to take responsibility for this. So that evening, he used a small sword to stab her dozens of times, and the girl still endured it. Indeed, she's tough. She even asked him to help her with something, wanting him to kill the missing sect leader of the Loimon sect, which wasn't long ago. The sect leader, Tion, of the Hokwa Loimon, appeared and pressured me to enter into a marriage contract. If I refuse that marriage, they threaten to help the Tan Tan sect. Because of that, Bok Hoa district and the Nami sect are in a difficult situation. On one side, he coldly says that even if we fail, it's irrelevant to Bok Hoa district, right? Indeed, everything has been calculated. If you can kill Nam Hosen, then your niece's aunt at Nami will surely reward you generously. Yet, she's the head of the Nami sect and also the senior disciple of Mia. Bio immediately recognized her as the one who had tried to assassinate him. At that time, while his sister was with him on their way to the city, they had gone to Namai for a transaction. Their Hack Van battalion needed 50,000 gold pieces. This made all the elders furious. Why should we incur such a high cost? You think our sect will accept your proposal? With 50,000 gold pieces, we could hire several battalions like yours. The situation is very tense now. Perhaps by now, other members of our group have already reached Tauntaun. Clearly, both sides are trying to catch fish with both hands. Whoever pays more money will do business with them. This made Siyu Mia furious, unleashing her power to intimidate them. Honestly, I don't think you need 50,000 gold pieces. Tell us the real price you want to go. We trade our weaponry. We'll do whatever the client asks as long as the price is guaranteed. She must be careful and considerate. The Tan Tan sect has the upper hand over our sect, so they surely have more options. It's most painful to have to choose them, but we must. I really want to cut these two into 100 pieces, but I don't know when the war will break out, so it's better to stay on their good side. Her senior disciple and junior sister have come down from the mountain to negotiate with the Van battalion leader. They'll decide on the transaction after the negotiation. Whoever dares to demand the right to trade needs to consider that it should be about money, not greedily. She releases a powerful aura to threaten the battalion leader, but this young man remains steadfast and doesn't flinch at all. If that's the case, then we'll yield the trading rights. So, we won't need 500,000 gold pieces. Help me find a location near the Western Highlands, you all know that. We're elders, no sect wants us lingering around their area, so we'll establish a territory near the Western Highlands, far away from the Nami sect. That's acceptable, right? She must carefully consider if she agrees right now, they'll immediately assist her. However, this could become a burden in the future. But if we use them as a shield, we can easily deplete their numbers and weaken their forces. Settlement won't be difficult if any issues arise, they can be resolved later. Finally, she agreed to their conditions, but the Tan Tan sect won't agree to negotiations like that. The two members of Nami have decided to come to Bok Hoa Ward to rest. Suddenly, at this moment, there's a report from the deputy battalion leader of the Loyam Mon that the sect's junior leader has been assassinated. The assassin hasn't been caught yet, but the Loimon suspects that Tan Tan sect is the culprit. Their sect's junior leader's coffin has been brought here. The head of the Tan Tan sect has denied this, but the Loimon immediately opens the coffin of their junior leader to examine the wounds, clearly caused by the Dat Thap Ni Fa Kim of the Tan Tan sect. the old man has to be shocked. Indeed, it was that Thap Ni Fa Kim due to the marriage affair with Bok Hoa Phuong. It's obvious that Ton Ton is silently fearing that I will ally with Nami and strike first. The sect's junior leader immediately shouts for evidence, and they have enough. This has angered me. What arrogance! I begin to release my aura, daring to come to the Sun Fong of the Ton Ton sect like that. Absolutely unforgivable. I have the right to strike away the head of the Loi Mon. Things are becoming complicated. The head of the Ton Ton sect has sent his disciples to Tondu. This matter is not simple. The whole Tondu is buzzing about the death of the Loi Mon junior leader. Only 2 people know the truth, Bio and Zian Ha. She also told me that in the next few days, she won't be able to serve me anymore. She's a disciple of Nami, and she's brought another junior sister to Bok Hoa Ward. Her character is a bit difficult, so I have to plan directly. Bio immediately confirms that it must be Kala, who stayed in Tondu 5 years ago. There's always a day when we will meet her. The sudden death of Nam Hosen from the Loi Mon will surely stir up chaos on the Ton Ton side. Let's wait and see. The subordinates of the head of the Ton Ton sect have also arrived at the scene of the incident. From the bloodstains at the scene, they recognize it as more brutal than anything they've seen before, clearly the work of the Dat Thap Ni Fa Kim of their sect. They also consider the possibility of someone disguising and faking it, as it's impossible for anyone to master the secret techniques of the Tichvot Song, a rare art of the Ton Ton sect. However, drawing conclusions at the scene may not be appropriate. So why don't we try to find out how the suspect fled? He was cruel enough to remind them of the mysterious figure from 7 years ago, whom they thought was dead and couldn't possibly reappear now. At this moment, on the road, the members of the Ton Ton sect clash with Nami, both sides emitting a strong smell of gunpowder, ready to confront each other. They are aware of the marriage affair between the junior leader of Loi Mon and the head of Bok Hoa Ward, hence they killed him. How audacious of them to invest 7 years to eliminate the prospects of our sect and then suddenly resort to assassination. They suddenly notice a terrifying gaze directed at them. Indeed, it's Bio. I have to admit, the intuition of that other girl is very sharp. I want to see them tear each other apart. The members of Hak Van are also here looking for me. The leader of the battalion is also present. Despite his aristocratic attire and appearance, he can't conceal his strong and unparalleled aura. Just a glimpse is enough to see that he's no ordinary gentleman. He wants me to join his Hak Van battalion. If I agree to join, all wishes will be fulfilled, including the deputy head's desires. Clearly, this is her intention. She's infatuated with that guy. Obviously, there's no appeal whatsoever. Bio bluntly refuses, which makes the atmosphere tense. The battalion leader suddenly bursts into laughter, saying it's just a joke. Everyone puts on a serious face as if they're fools. Even if I wanted the gentleman to join, how could I give Lan Chao to him? This child is my cherished treasure, I've pampered him so much. But he still warns me while conversing lightly, unlike the others who are quite aggressive. Bio doesn't flinch at all. If one day someone is walking on the street and suddenly their head separates from their body, if you think it's my doing, you wouldn't be wrong. His face immediately turns serious, making it hard to ignore. He accuses me of joking, yet he puts on such a serious face. That's just like a fool. This infuriates him greatly. He has someone monitoring my every move, completely unaware that I'm right beside him at this moment. Xianha also informs me that the death of the junior leader of the Loi Mon is related to Bio, her lover. Suddenly, there's a loud scream. A disciple of Nami has been murdered in the room of the Bok Hoa Ward. The leader of the Hak Van battalion, through intelligence, only knows that Bio has been inactive for 4 days. The culprit, another member of Namai, also brings the body to inquire about some information from the battalion leader. The wound is extremely thin and sharp, impossible to be from a sword or a knife, so how could it make the skin so dry like this? Even someone with as much combat experience as him couldn't find any traces. Thinking of Bio like those days, he was completely motionless, while his soldiers of the Van Ben battalion would arrive in 2 days, which would be the moment the great battle would take place. Siyumiya of Nami was filled with hatred and wanted to settle scores with the Ton Ton faction once and for all. She didn't know that all of this was being quietly observed by Pyo. That night, Hyo Janju came to him, and she still hadn't given up on her intention for him to join her battalion. There was even a guy who mistook him for a girl and wanted to rush forward to ask for info. He was joking with his life. Bio gave him 3 seconds to scram, otherwise he would regret it. The guy immediately attempted to attack him with his 2 chopsticks, but he was blocked. Then, he started to lose his temper, throwing a punch at him, but since when did Pio disappear? He appeared behind him, and then countless slashes followed until he collapsed. He still didn't stop, directly using his own blade against him. Mujanju, unable to watch his comrades die without helping, rushed forward but couldn't do anything. Under her plea, he finally spared his life. The battalion leader knew about the incident but couldn't do anything because the battle was imminent. Janja said he wouldn't pay too much attention to this, but she truly harbored resentment. She was determined to make him pay the price. The people of the Tauntaun faction went to the 5th disciple in the city to seek information about the assassin. He immediately mentioned Bio's name. He was so beautiful that birds would stop to admire him, but behind that beauty, people rumored that he was as ruthless as a venomous snake. After the members of the Tauntaun faction left, a hand appeared behind the old man. His body couldn't move at all. It was Bio. The old man had to reveal his identity. If he had any trouble, Ngumon would never leave him alone. But he threatened the wrong person. Since he had already died once, he couldn't die again now. Immediately, the old man followed the call of the elders. That night, the great battle between the Tauntaun and Nami factions erupted, all turning into chaos. The Van Ben battalion joined the battle. At this moment, the top disciples of both factions were also fiercely fighting. Today, blood would be shed. Colin was also fighting, but there were indeed too many enemies of Nami. She could defend herself, but the other disciples of Nami couldn't. The cause of this was indeed because of Nami's actions. That's why she hesitated, afraid to engage in battle with Tauntaun. But while she was still hesitating, the other disciples of Nami, sacrificing themselves, decided not to retreat and instead rushed into the battle. At this moment, the leader of the Van Ben battalion also realized that there was a change. The great battle hadn't taken place for long, but their numbers were already reduced to half. Tauntaun was still fighting with Nami, and they didn't have enough time to do this. It seemed like someone had intervened to make this battle more serious. Then, his assassin began to search and identified the big tree in front, where he could stand and observe the entire battle. Indeed, he guessed correctly. A mysterious figure with fiery red eyes was hiding on the tree, and moreover, it was a master using its demonic trajectory knife, rendering him unable to resist. He was quickly cut down with a single strike, and with a sound, he was sent flying into the sky. At the same time, the top disciple of the Tauntaun faction had defeated Nami's Siyumiya. Colin also rushed here in time. In this situation, they could only retreat to preserve their numbers. Tauntaun aside couldn't stop it either. Perhaps he also realized that dealing with Colin wouldn't be easy. The casualties on both sides were too great this time. The next day, the Hakvan battalion confirmed that the wounds on the bodies were caused by one person, likely using the Dao battalion with their intelligence. The leader of the Hakvan battalion immediately summoned Dutu, who had been called before. Indeed, his wounds were identical to those of the victims Jello-san and Siopio, who were killed by the despicable Pyog. Summon the lower ranks to hunt down that scoundrel. When we capture him, I'll interrogate him directly. Meanwhile, he had arrived at the place of Nami's Siyumiya. For the past 7 years, I have never forgotten you, even for a second. Slowly unveiling his face, she couldn't be more startled. Clearly, she thought he was dead. How could he appear here? He then disclosed everything about this battle, all of which he had caused. This made her furious to the point of tears turning into blood. Ultimately, it's because of you nurturing us. If it weren't for you, we would never have become such a menace. She was now enraged and wanted to rush forward to kill him, but fundamentally lacked the strength. No matter where you hide, I'll drag you out. Then I'll devour all of you without leaving anything behind. She was dealt with accordingly. A moment later, he appeared at Kim Thien Mon, the current residence of the Tauntaun faction, which was still treating Peo's injuries after the recent battle. He suddenly showed up here and revealed that everything this time was caused by himself. Gun's death last year was also at his hands. At this moment, he couldn't contain his anger and burst out with a momentum like a giant crane. You were wrong. If you keep hiding, your life will still be spared. Today has come. Don't expect to escape at lightning speed to attack me, but it's just a futile attempt. In the blink of an eye, he was still caught by Bio's beauty. He didn't expect that the little kid from back then could be so strong. The foolish disciples still thought it was Nami's faction who harmed the master. The factions were furious and sought revenge. They indiscriminately killed each other day and night. The question arose, was this someone's plot? The countless impostors quickly disappeared. Cologne couldn't bear to watch the scene. At this moment, the leader of the Hack Van battalion informed her about Bio being behind everything. This news reached Suyumiya, who was furious upon learning that her top disciple had been assassinated. The one who killed Gold back then, 7 years ago, was still alive and now causing Nami and Tauntaun to slaughter each other. Clearly, the martial arts of the Tauntaun faction justified this. A disciple of the Tauntaun faction, when chasing after Bio, brought a copy of the secret martial arts manual. It's very likely that Pyo learned from it, and the Tauntaun faction won't listen to us anymore. In that case, the only option left is to catch the troublemaker. This time, she herself will hunt him down. Pyo is currently killing all the bullies who bullied the blacksmith Suzu. He didn't expect his own weapon to have such terrifying power. He followed Pyo in order to seek revenge for Zhongman, but this expression is also too frantic. At the same time, Muji, the elder leader of Tauntaun, personally killed Tai Muan, the master of Taimon, claiming it was due to his betrayal that his disciple had to die. The elder leader was also shocked, his rage reaching its peak. What happened in that basement 7 years ago that left it in such a state? The elder leader immediately shouted, 7 years ago, just because of those Namai factions, we lost Gun. Today, we lose even more. The future of Tauntaun has been shattered. We can't tolerate it anymore. Until now, our disciple has endured for our senior's sake. Now, see what the result is. The elder leader directly launched an attack, wanting a bloodbath with the Nami faction. Even the father of Golf Sang has been hiding for the past 7 years, nursing his grudge against Nami. If the two of them join forces, a true battle will erupt. Muha, the disciple of the elder leader, will personally investigate and clarify this matter. Meanwhile, Pyo is reviewing the information in the notebook stolen from Hongamon. The information network of Hongamon is extensive, not only covering the capital but also the 4 directions. Many people have died, and emotions like guilt have disappeared into the cold, bleak earth. Since being imprisoned in that basement, the only thing important to the nation is survival. Our lives are no different from the fate of the demon Tu La, filled with blood in the territory of the Nami faction in the capital. Suddenly, they sensed a master approaching, only to find out it was the elder leader, Suyumiya, of the Nami faction. She is truly very angry, all gathered inside for a discussion, including the 2 from the Black Cloud Army. Suyumiya, upon seeing the expressions of Xian Tu, recognized something unusual and questioned it. Finally, under her stern gaze, he had to confess everything. Please forgive me. I truly didn't know things would turn out like this. I just intended to use him. But I never expected things to turn out like this. She begged frantically, but Suyumiya's gaze was like that of someone looking at a dead person. No one asked you to kill the head of the Loimon. You just need to live peacefully, living a life like a flower among men. But your words contradict your actions. The mention of his lover being killed horrified everyone. And this directly fueled Kala's rage, her anger continuously emanating. The master didn't necessarily need to do that. Even if they were wrong, it didn't warrant death. They also didn't expect Kala to hide her true strength like this, but in front of Suyumiya, she was just a child. It seemed from the beginning she had thought of killing Yu Zian Ha to bring Bok Hoa Phuong under control. Indeed, a formidable expert renowned in Tu Shuyan like her was not easy to deal with. Then she directly ordered Yang, the leader of the group, to hunt down Bio. That night, when Ha's body was thrown away like garbage, and Bio appeared here, burying her with a decent grave. We won't apologize because, after all, we only have a mutually beneficial relationship. Even so, I will surely seek revenge on those who dare to treat her like this. Rest assured and rest in peace. The next morning, Muha came to find his senior, Goldsang. He came to inform that Pyo had reappeared, very likely the one who assassinated his son 7 years ago. the old man certainly couldn't let this go without seeking revenge. On that day, the grief of losing Yuzan's son turned into a burning desire for vengeance. That night, he encountered the blonde sister of the Black Cloud Army. Her appearance seemed normal, but leading so many people surely wasn't just a chance encounter. This is the last time we suggest it, brother. Join the Black Cloud Army. If you refuse, both sides will immediately attack. Their target is Nami, wanting your life, Bio. Instantly rejecting their invitation, all three coordinated to attack him. Additionally, Yang, the leader, and many members of the Black Cloud Army rushed in. With a single wave of his hand, many of their members were eliminated. Yet they remained undeterred. As the Grim Reaper, he warned them they would regret interfering in this battle. Bio swiftly moved and killed many people. The others thought Pyo and the group behind him were on the same side, igniting the fight against those in front and disappearing directly afterward. Both sides were trapped in this battle, unable to escape. A master decided to stay behind to block them, allowing the others to hunt down Bio quickly. The battle spread throughout the city. All of this was caused by him, while the others fought with Peo. They underestimated him because from the beginning, he had fled to set up this major battle. Now Pyo could unleash his full force to retaliate very quickly. A Daoist's arm was severed, and the blonde girl was also injured. She couldn't even see the attacks coming. The leader Yang also unleashed a powerful blow, but ended up killing his own teammate. Seizing the opportunity, Bio moved on. At the same time, the people of Nami began to act. Their first target was the Fire Dragon sect. They were very frightened this time, as the leader of Nami directly intervened on the side of the Tauntaun faction. Today, their sect would be annihilated. Even a single blow couldn't be resisted. Just when the old man thought he had the upper hand, the leader of the Tauntaun faction appeared. "We've been waiting for you for 7 years. 7 years ago, if the senior had not refused the offer to eliminate the Nami faction, we might have met a little earlier." The terrifying aura of the old man made Tsuyumiya shudder. She immediately spoke of the unknown assailant who had caused today's tragedy. "He had killed our beloved and your loved ones. Therefore, we must settle the score after capturing him." Now that the situation is deceptive enough, the old man directly refused. He exerted tremendous pressure, rejecting even the person who had been the mastermind behind the mission 7 years ago. Why should they hunt down an unknown boy? Tauntaun's 7 swords will help drive away these Nami pests. Tsuyumiya of Nami also directly exerted her power, welcoming their great battle. Their battle shook the entire area. Even Bio, who was fleeing, witnessed this scene. This is the result he desired. Even if he rode a horse, he would find it difficult to catch up to him. Witnessing it firsthand, it's hard to believe how he can effortlessly fly like a ring spirit. But we don't care what vile methods he used to escape, we will definitely catch him and kill him. The noble Daoist and his loved ones must be avenged. He must pay with countless lives. Throwing attacks at Bio, but he easily evaded and suddenly disappeared, leaving them stunned. When they realized the target was behind, they met a gruesome end. At this moment, he sensed 2 powerful energies approaching. One was Tsuyumiya, who was still formidable, and the other was the leader of Tauntaun. They had discovered Bio's presence here. Emitting a dangerous energy field, Cologne also spoke out, identifying Bio with his snake-like red eyes. He was the one from 7 years ago. Immediately, Mugamj unleashed terrifying power straight at Bio, who just smirked and ran away. They all chased after him to hunt him down. Cologne realized it was a trap, urging Tsuyumiya to stop, but she didn't recognize her own vulnerability compared to Muangzi. If not for the appearance of that unknown assailant, not only her life, but her honor would also have been damaged. In just a moment, things turned upside down, and now she had to follow like a mere worm. So, she must quickly kill that unknown assailant to settle the score with Mu, but their pursuers kept coming. Despite the danger, Bio appeared directly. Seeing them as his prey, one of them, a reckless attacker, lunged at him, but his body suddenly froze and couldn't move, then was felled by an unseen force. They didn't know that Susu and he had arranged many poisonous traps here, and the disciples of Nami were immediately shot with arrows. Just by moving, they fell into traps set beforehand. A group of people fell into countless snake traps, small snakes rushing to attack them. This infuriated Tsuyumiya, who wanted to kill him immediately. But Bio didn't flinch, he told her to sit tight and watch the show, as the final act would be hers. Lao Jian Gagongji was also furious, shouting that Bio would pay for daring to harm the disciples of Tan Tan Fai. But hadn't he already paid with his life 7 years ago? In this ruined world, there was no greater price than the one he had already paid. Bio directly attacked Lao Ta Tan Van Thien Ha with a myriad of sword energy but couldn't touch him. Bio also launched countless small knives at Lao Ta, but he managed to block them. Even he had to marvel at how his martial arts, honed over those years, rivaled those of the renowned masters of Tu Shuyan. After so long, his thirst for victory had finally boiled over. He had endured 7 years in that darkness. He began to seriously exert himself, unleashing a terrifying pressure and incredible speed as he struck towards Lao Ta. A single blow shook him, and Lao Ta thought he had been defeated, but Bio directly used his hand to block the attack. His mouth also emitted the demonic breath of the Na Kui Dao, a secret technique. The large sword of Lao Ta shattered upon contact. It was a legendary sword passed down from generation to generation by his master, having endured thousands of battles without a scratch. How could you achieve such a feat while Lao Ta was still blinded by anger? Since when had Siyu Mia been lurking behind him, her next vicious gaze already aimed at him? It would be your turn next. She has shown her true colors, even resorting to sneak attacks, despite being a thick-skinned leader of a sect. Truly, she knows no shame. The only thing others will see is the glorious victory of Amida, the ultimate ruler of Tu Shuyan. She used a trick to drive away Muangji, then turned towards Bio. Truly, I must thank you, without you, old man Muangji wouldn't have been so easily defeated. To make a point, I'll let you enjoy the pain until death, a pain you'll never forget. Haha. If it weren't for your greed, I could have lived my life peacefully, like a worm drifting around the world. Your ambition turned me into a cold-blooded assassin, a monstrous creature you created. Both quickly plunged into the grand battle, shaking the opponents. Bio's attacks were easily blocked by her, then she launched chaotic attacks. Pu had to use all his strength to fend off her blows. She thought his techniques were simple, but when she looked down, her feet were already entangled in golden threads. Using mind techniques and dark lightning, she crazily punched him in a fierce battle. Even her speed couldn't match his, and now she's truly terrified. How could such a powerful monster exist in this world? If this continues, it won't be long before I join Mu in the realm of the dead. To escape, she called for Colin and the Hakvan Bindon to attack him. This made them fearful. Their opponent was someone who defeated 2 top martial artists of Tu Shuyan. How could he be their opponent? This makes him feel disgusted. Do you want to trade their lives to save yourself? It seems I can't let the opportunity slip away. Yang, the leader of the group, was defeated in the blink of an eye. Next was Colin. He didn't counterattack but went straight past her to confront the old woman. At this moment, he resembled a great serpent surrounded by countless venomous snakes, intimidating the old woman. She went into a frenzy, cursing the wretched fate of her family. If not for you, everything from now on would have been in my hands. Then he took her back to the elders. Everyone here was dumbfounded. Siyu Mia had been defeated. Could they survive while Colin was still unsure of what to do? Suddenly, Muangji unleashed a brutal power like a divine weapon, undoubtedly indicating that the old man had cultivated the 9 demon techniques. He madly launched an attack, much faster than before, with no flaws in his movements. But it was evident that he was completely possessed by demonic energy, losing consciousness. He was immediately defeated by Pyo and collapsed. The old man's disciple also rushed forward to block him before dying. Muangji still shouted, doing everything for the honor of the Tan Tan sect. Solon negotiated with Pyo to have the master's body returned to Nami. In the current situation, revenge was no longer important, survival was paramount. Both sides had to bow before Bio. He agreed to this, also reminding them that if they dared seek revenge, they shouldn't ask why they were eradicated. After this event, both Nami and Tan Tan fell into a period of stagnation. They ceased their power struggles, and other martial sects enforced a temporary peace. They focused on recovering from the damage. Bio also gained a nickname as a deity, and no one dared to seek revenge. Not long after, a prominent figure in the martial world appeared in Tu Shuyan Tan Du. This time, the first season of the story will surely bring storms and waves. That's the end of the story. Like for the admin, everyone.